I want to just talk about something very briefly, and then we're going to go do some stuff. And the stuff that we're going to do will kind of carry out. We'll probably keep doing it in class tomorrow and Thursday as well. I want to make sure that we have plenty of time to get this done. And it should be fun. I think it'll be actually really kind of fun. So here's the deal. First of all, if you weren't here when I said this before, pick a seat and stay there for the next couple weeks so that I can learn everybody's name. I'm getting pretty close. I just need a little extra time. And then I have some technology-related things to tell you. The first, which you already know, is that you should not have phones out at all. They should be not even in your pocket. Technically, they're supposed to be backpack or purse or locker. You can put them in the pouch. I can lock them up for you. I have no intention of making your lives miserable. And so what you'll find is I'm going to be pretty understanding about this, but there will be a time, in the next week, where the expectation is if I see your phone, I need to take it. And it's not because that's I enjoy doing that, but it's because that is what we have been asked to do, and I have a responsibility to do what I've been asked to do. So be aware of that. If you, if I see it today, I'll probably just remind you. If I see it tomorrow, I'll probably remind you, but maybe not. By the time Thursday rolls around, what you can expect is if I see your phone, I'm going to take it. And if you are a good-natured person who does the same kind of thing that I do, which is when your phone is in your pocket, sometimes you just can't help it. I notice when I walk out of the classroom, pretty much always the first thing I do is pull my phone out. I don't even think about it. And so if that happens, I will have to confiscate it, but I'm not going to get upset about it. And what I'd like to do is, if you're like me and you just you just can't keep yourself from looking at it if it's in your pocket, let's come up with a plan. I can keep it secure so that you don't have to worry about accidentally taking it out and getting it confiscated. But we can worry about that down the road. The second thing I want to talk about is Chromebooks and technology. So a couple things about that. First, I am going to ask you to only use school-issued Chromebooks in this class. No personal devices, no iPads, no MacBooks, no PCs, just the school-issued Chromebooks. And if you want a more detailed explanation of why, I'm happy to explain it to you, but just know that you could bring your device to class, but you can't use it in here. You've got to use our stuff. And then if you don't have a Chromebook, please go get one and figure out how to use it if you haven't. If you have a Chromebook but you either forget it or it's not charged, I do have one charger that people can borrow, but then that's only one. But I have a stack of loaner Chromebooks that you can use. So if you don't have your Chromebook, or your Chromebook isn't charged and somebody else is using the charger, then you can use one of my loaners. You'll probably have to plug it in because I don't know if the batteries even work anymore, but it'll allow you to sign in, and so you'll be able to get your work done. If you don't want to use a loaner, that's totally fine. Just make sure that you bring a charged Chromebook every day, and I would just carry your charger with you. That's what I do. Everywhere I go, I bring my charger, because I always think everything is charged up, and then sometimes it's not. So it's always worth having a charger on you. And then the last thing about Chromebooks is many of you are in the habit of, as you come into class, you get your Chromebook out, you open it up, and that's fine. But in general, what I'm going to ask you to do is keep them closed. So Tosh and Cal and Riley, just close it, and then I'll tell you when to open them up. I'll tell you when you need them, and whenever it's time, you can use them. But what I don't want is I don't want to be looking at the back of a Chromebook. Some of you like to take notes on a Chromebook. Some of you like to follow along, like if I have a presentation or something. What I'm going to ask is that you just do that stuff on paper. If you want to take notes, you can do it on paper. If you have an agreement with somebody else in the building that you need to have notes to look at, I will print them out for you, and I'll give you a printout of the notes. And if you absolutely must have a device to take notes on, because somebody else in the building who's more powerful than I am, if it's even imaginable, then I'll coordinate with that person, because I can't supersede their instructions. But unless you have an agreement with somebody else that that's how things will work, then I want to see your faces, not the back of your Chromebooks. The next thing I want to mention has to do with turning in work, and there is a technology piece to this, because the way it's going to work, and I'll explain this over and over again, because I know it's going to take a little bit of processing, but the way it's going to work is Canvas is going to be how I determine whether you've turned something in and whether you've turned it in on time. So that means every assignment has to be turned in on Canvas. Every assignment that we do, there's got to be something on Canvas so that I can see, oh, this person turned it in, and oh, this person turned it in on time. The problem with Canvas is if there's any kind of handwritten work, I won't be able to read it on Canvas. And in the past, I've let students use phones to take pictures, and then I can actually see what they did. But we can't use phones anymore. So you're going to have to use your Chromebook to take a picture, which means it's going to be kind of a blur. So that means any work that you do by hand also has to get turned in on paper so that I can actually read it. And I could give you a more full explanation of why I'm going to go this route, but basically what it boils down to is handwritten work has to be turned in via a picture on Canvas and on paper. If you don't do both of those things, then the score won't show up. And I will always give you time in class to take the picture, and then turning it in by hand doesn't take any time at all. I mean, just pass it forward. So it shouldn't be a big time cost to you. I know it's one little extra hoop to jump through. What I think is that it's going to end up benefiting all of you. It's going to, even though it's a little bit of an extra step, it's actually going to make your lives easier in a bunch of ways to get used to this. So it may take a little bit of time. I'm certainly not going to be, tyrant about it to start. If it takes you a week to get adjusted, that's totally fine. But I think, after a week or so, you should be able to, if I say, let's get, take a picture of this and then turn it in, what I expect is everyone will get a picture and everyone will get it turned in. And so we'll talk a little bit more about this tomorrow, but I went through and I graded all the work that was turned in. Most of you took a picture and gave me a paper as well. If you didn't, you're not going to have a score in Canvas. Ashton, will you close that? Just wait for now. We can do it later. So what we'll do tomorrow is I'll give you a chance to look at your Canvas if you haven't already, and then if you don't have a score for the assignments that we did last week, we can figure out why you don't have a score and get it fixed. And there won't be any penalties for work that we did last week. Frankly, there won't be any penalties for work that we do this week, provided you're actually doing it. So if you're just kind of getting in the groove of turning things in, it's no problem at all. And then the last thing is, if you have checked out our module for today, what you'll see is that, as promised, the current week is up at the top, and last week is now lower. There's also a new section called resources. There's going to be other things here. For now, the only thing in resources are the videos that I'm making in class. And so I just want you to see what this is going to look like. It's just my YouTube channel, and I have 3 courses. We're right here, Intro to Environmental Science. If you need any help accessing or navigating the videos, let me know. These are for you, and if you don't need them, it's totally fine. There will never be a video here that I require you to watch if you were in class. But some of you, if you miss class, will find the videos really helpful. And some of you, even if you were here, you might find the videos pretty helpful anyway. If we do something kind of complicated, it's kind of nice to be able to watch it again. Okay, any questions? That's not you. Any questions about any of that stuff? Technology and logistics and all that good stuff. Okay, so let's shift gears and talk about plants a little bit more. So on Wednesday last week, I said, go outside, find some plants, draw a picture, and figure out what they are. And I gave you these books, which are actually, these are like legendary books. the people who wrote these books are from OSU, and they kind of they were pioneers in documenting the native plants of the Pacific Northwest. The Native Americans who lived here knew all the plants, and they had names, and they knew all the properties. The Native Americans used these plants for food and medicine and, you know, fishing and hunting and all sorts of stuff. When European American settlers came here, they needed to sort of re-identify all the plants using Latin scientific names and using English common names. You needed to describe them, to draw them, and to make books out of them, because that stuff hadn't been done before. And if you think about it, like, people started arriving in the Pacific Northwest from the East Coast only in about like the 1820s to 1850s, which means that at the time that this book was published, initially, which I think it was this is a 1980 copy, but there were older versions of this that went back to the 30s and 40s, the 1930s and 1940s, and so they'd only really been documenting this stuff for like 100 years or so, which is a long time by our standards, but it's not that long to document and draw and figure out the characteristics of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of plants. So it's really great that we have these books. The problem is, if you go outside and you find a plant and you want to know what it is, this isn't going to help you. These line drawings, while they're really good, they aren't in color, and they're two-dimensional drawings rather than pictures of a three-dimensional plant. It's a little hard to see what's going on. There are words in here, but the words are largely things that you don't know. So if you looked at this, you might have seen something like stems from slender running, often branched rootstocks, leaves ovate, minutely toothed, peduncles and inflorescence, blah, blah, blah. You don't know what any of that stuff is. So these books probably weren't that helpful unless you happened to either already know the name of a plant, or you happened to just stumble on a picture and you were like, oh, this is the one I'm looking at. So we're gonna approach this a different way. We're gonna approach it in a way that I think is gonna make it a lot easier for you to figure out what's going on. First, we have a class set of a book that has color photos, and that's gonna make things a lot easier. It's also organized in a way that's probably gonna make much more sense to you. It's organized into trees and shrubs and then smaller plants by different groups. And so it'll be a lot easier for you to find what you're looking for in here. You'll all, we'll have enough of these. I think in this class, you'll have your own copy of this. And then the other thing that we're gonna do is, instead of saying, go out and figure out what the plants are, we're gonna flip that script, and what we're gonna say is, based on my knowledge of the plants that are out here in the Crescent Valley area, I'm gonna say there's a handful that it's useful for us to be able to recognize, so that we can use this as we do our scientific studies. So I have a document, oh, it's already open. I have a document here called Plant Scavenger Hunt, and this is going to be something that's going to take us a few days. So there's no rush. And what I want you to do is I want you to gather some specimens of some of the plants that we have here on campus. And there are a couple of things that I want to make really clear. First of all, I want you to you're gonna need to work with other people to identify the plants, and I'll explain how that's going to work in just a second. But I want you to work in pairs. So don't work in groups of 3. Don't work individually. We talked about this last week. You're going to need to be able to collaborate with people. Ultimately, I will assign groups sometimes. Sometimes I'm going to let you find your own partner. Sometimes it'll be a little bit of both. For today, I'll make sure that everybody has a partner before we go outside. but you need to be working with another person on this. The second thing is that one of the plants on our list is poison oak, and this is one, you can talk all you want about poison oak. You can make jokes about it, but I do not want you to actually touch it. So even if it sounds hilarious to you to touch poison oak, don't do it. And if you think you're not allergic to poison oak, that's great. Still don't touch it. You might not be allergic to it, but other people might have an allergy such that if you touch it and then they come into contact with something else that you touch, they might have a reaction. So just stay away from the poison oak. You can joke about it all you want, but don't actually touch it or let it touch your clothing or anything. The third thing is,
why would you want to be voluntarily itchy?
So I don't know. All I can tell you is I made that comment because every year somebody asks, is it okay if I collect the poison oak?
No.
One year, I had so this didn't happen in my class, I believe. One year, I had a young woman in my class who, and I had taught her older brother a few years previously, and I asked her, oh, how's your brother doing? And she said, well, he just got out of the hospital. Why did he get out of the hospital? Because he had decided to try to generate an immunity to poison oak. And the way that he did that was by eating a small amount of it.
Oh.
He had a systematic allergic reaction and ended up in the hospital. So, that's why I said it. The way this will work is several of these plants are ones that if you've taken biology from either me or Mr. Barron, you will have already seen these. And I know there's enough people in here who took biology from either me or Mr. Barron that you should have at least a superficial familiarity with them. So here's the deal. If you did not take biology with me or Mr. Barron last year or the year before that, make sure that your partner did. That way, you will know everything up to, I can't remember how far we went. Did you all look at Douglas fir in biology? Did we look at that? Yeah, okay. So these first ones, Pacific dogwood, all the way through Douglas fir, are not going to be mysteries for anyone who was in those classes. I don't expect that you're going to remember everything. I don't expect that you're going to remember exactly what they look like, but you will be able to remind yourself. You can look at some pictures, you can use the books, probably you remember where some of these things were on campus. And these are the ones that we'll target today and for the first part of tomorrow. And then after that, we have some other ones that maybe you haven't seen. And these ones we'll work through together. I don't expect you to be able to look at a book, go outside, and find a plant. That's not realistic. But what I do want is, I think it'll almost certainly will be done by the end of the day tomorrow, though we might need a little bit of time on Thursday. But basically what I think is that no later than like a half an hour into Thursday's class, everyone should have specimens of all of these plants with the exception of poison oak. What you're going to do is collect them in these buckets. So it doesn't, you don't have to get a large specimen. Everything you collect should easily fit in here. So you don't need to get anything this big. It's all going to be like this big. And get a specimen for the plants that you feel like is very recognizable. For some plants, that might be the leaves. For some plants, it might be like the seeds or something else. Like you might not even know what you're looking at, but if you see it and you're like, wow, that is unique. I can identify this plant by whatever that thing is that I'm looking at. That should be part of the specimen that you collect. Some of the plants have thorns. If you're careful, which you should be, then those won't be any problem at all. And if you use the scissors, then you'll be able to kind of clip things and then you can easily pick them up around the thorns. You won't be able to like tear off pieces of plants by hand if they have thorns on them. And then, let's see, before you go out, you can, do two things. One is, in your notes, don't get anything out yet, you'll have time to do this, but, in your notes, you can jot down the names of the plants, and you can get those, I'll have them up on the board, but you can also get those off of the assignment in Canvas. So you can jot down the names, and then you and your partner can look them up both in the book, which is just on this cart, on the bottom part of this cart over here, or on the internet, so that you have a visual. And again, if you think about just targeting maybe the first 5 or 6 plants on this list, if you pair yourself up with somebody who took biology here at CV, then they'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that one. Or, you know, I can't remember what it looks like, and then they'll look at it and be like, oh yeah, that one. And then some of you, I think you'll probably remember these. Like, I don't know. Tosh, do you remember cow parsnip? Do you remember what that looks like? Does it ring a bell? What's that? Sort of, yeah. So there's and that's great. That's perfect. Just a little sort of. What you'll find is, as soon as you see it, you'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that one. Yeah, and that's all we need. Let's see, what time are we done? We are done at 10:50. So we got about 20 minutes or so. What I'm going to ask is, so when you get back to the classroom, I'm going to ask you to write your names on a little scrap of paper, put all your specimens in a plastic bag so that the next intro class can use the tubs as well. So I'm going to ask that you are back here at about 10:45. So we'll have about 15 minutes to collect today, which isn't very much, and we'll have lots more time tomorrow, right? So start by making sure you know which plants you're looking for, write down some names, then find what they look like so you have a visual, and then you can go out and do some collection. Okay? Any questions?
Do you have any tape?
Say that again?
Do you have any tape?
I do, somewhere. I'm not sure where, but I can find it. Okay, you can get started.